Arg! Ahoy there, matey! Welcome aboard the world of boating.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I was just looking into buying a boat of my own.
Call World of Boating toll-free now at 1-8888-28-BOAT. That's 1-888-828-BOAT.
And welcome. This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. Barry the boater rounding out the crew at the moment. It's a skeleton crew here after Hurricane Helene. Am I saying it? That's right.
You were saying it right. My grandmother's name was Helen, and
Yeah.
if you add an E to it, it becomes Helene.
Helene.
Not Helene.
All right, Helene.
Oh, the wind is blowing.
It's, this late in the season to have a storm.
Late.
It is late.
No,
This is
it isn't. It's September. We're right there at the peak of the season is the middle of September.
Well, okay, whatever. But, I mean, usually we've had one by now, is my point.
Not Florida, but we've already had storms. We're up to H. We're up to A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right. Okay.
Those were all storms, but they didn't hit us. They didn't come near us, which is good.
Right. Well, Barry's down in South Florida. They're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I'm in the central area, Orlando. We actually got a bigger hit, I think, than you guys did.
Well, yeah. I mean,
'cause
but
we're on the
incidentally,
outskirts.
I'm not right on the coast. I'm 20 miles inland, so I'm closer to the Everglades. Only
Right.
2 miles from the alligator. So
And this was one of the biggest storms they've ever seen as far
Yes, it
as
was.
square miles. So it covered the
Absolutely.
entire state, and depending on where you were on the bands of the hurricane, really determined how bad it was. Now, of course, if you were there at ground zero, I mean, it's devastating up there in the
Yeah.
Panhandle. But I mean, even Orlando, even where Barry is on the closer to the east coast of Florida, we all felt it, and we had a day of blows and tornado warnings and things.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are you laughing at?
well, it's just the way you put it. I mean, yeah,
What?
we had a day of wind,
Okay,
not blows. All right, let's keep it clean here,
What?
young man.
Barry, get your head out of the
out
out
the
of the
gutter.
bedroom.
No.
Okay.
We had feeder bands that would come around, and every time a feeder band would go over you, it would bring all that wind with us.
Yeah.
And you could watch it on the radar; it's just like churning.
Mhm.
And because of that, because it's spinning like that, like a top sideways, you get tornadoes. So
Right.
we had tornado watches, tornado warnings. All
Mhm.
of Florida was under a tornado warning.
Yeah.
Um,
And we can get these microburst things, even
Yeah.
and not even a tornado. And I mean, this can happen to you at the dock with your boat as well when you just get a bad thunderstorm in Florida or anywhere for that matter. So you got to be prepared. I mean, so we need to talk or reiterate the importance of preparing for bad weather as a boater. I mean, I hate to use these as examples, but this is the reality of what we live in. It could happen at any time, and it just so happens to be the first big storm we've had in Florida this year. And we feel for the people that got whacked there in the
oh yeah,
Panhandle. Is pretty bad. But like I said, it affected a lot of people across the state, and even is affecting people up in the
all the
at
way
lakes.
to Virginia.
Yeah.
Up in the Virginias and all that. And
Right.
Ohio had some rain.
They're gonna actually. It was weird. And here in Orlando, we got the wind. We got some gusts up in the 50s, 60s there for about a day or so. I mean, and we've had that before. It wasn't that big of a problem for where I live, but we didn't have much rain because it came through very quickly.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting that we didn't get much rain. It looked terrible outside. You could literally see the clouds spinning. I don't know if you ever went out there and looked what was going on when Helene was overhead of you there, Barry.
Oh,
But
yeah.
You can just look up and look at the clouds, and you could just see that spiral going because it was going so fast. It was kind of weird. You look at the weathermen on TV, and then you go out and look at the clouds. You're like, wow, it looks just like the graphic they show us.
Right.
It was
No,
wild.
I mean, yeah, we were lucky because
Mhm.
it stayed far enough out in the ocean. If you saw, it went right between Cuba and that area of Mexico, right through that area where there's a lot of water. It got into some very hot, warm water, which just fueled this thing.
Right.
What is amazing is that NOAA has gotten really good at predicting these things, when they're going to develop and how strong they may become, because they were talking about this a week and a half ago down near somewhere south of Cuba, a little bit west of Jamaica, this whole area of low pressure that was slowly developing.
Yeah. Well, there's another one there now.
Yes, there is.
And we've had a situation like this before a few years ago where we had one come through, whacked Florida, and sure enough, a week later we got another one. And that was what was that, Charlie or something back in the day? So I hope we don't have that scenario. But I did think about that when I saw the latest report. I'm like, golly, is it going to just stir up another one and come right down the same path? Let's hope that doesn't happen. But there is something brewing in the same spot where this one started up too. So
and
we'll see.
What's amazing is that it had a beeline for Tallahassee, and it jogged a little bit to the east, and it was just enough to where the eye wall, which is where you get the strongest winds, did not hit Tallahassee directly, and therefore they didn't have nearly the damage they could have had. That's a highly populated area.
Yeah,
there could have been a lot more. Now and I've been watching the news and looking at the houses, and some areas are absolutely devastated. There's nothing left. The houses have all broken up from the surge from the ocean,
right,
and they've just been splintered. What I did notice is that the older homes, the wood-framed homes, went down. The concrete homes, especially the ones on pilings, survived. What kind of shape they're in, they may have some damage where it needs some repairs, but at least they're there. So it shows. I'm just surprised at how many homes are still wood-framed up there, and I don't understand why Florida doesn't, or the rest of Florida doesn't have the same building code as Miami-Dade County, which has the strongest code in all of Florida.
Well, they will. The more storms we get when they come through, it kind of forces an upgrade, so to speak. Same with just the trees and power and stuff like that. Because what happens is when an area, especially, we're used to this in Florida, we got to deal with this every year. And depending on where you are and, how the odds work for you, work in your favor, determine how you're going to fare if one finally comes. And if it's been 20 years since you've had a major storm, what happens is it may not be even home damage. You might get some shingles off your roof and that kind of thing. But the thing is the trees. Yeah. They get old and, brittle, and the wind comes through and the big storm comes through. And next thing you know, they're falling over power lines and everybody's losing power, and it's a big mess and creates, havoc in that regard as far as the aftermath. And that's usually worse for us in Florida. But, from a boating perspective, that's what we need to focus on is that, you need to just be aware, no matter where you are, whether you're in a hurricane zone or not, like us, you got to make sure you have crossed your T's, checked your dock lines, put in extra lines, because you've seen the video like everybody else. There's boats all over the place.
Yeah, I don't think dock lines would have helped that.
Well, get it out of the water if you can.
Yeah.
You got to take every precaution you can. Don't ever just leave it. A lot of people just think, well, that's what I got insurance for. And if it goes, it goes. And I don't know if that's a great way to look at it either. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. One of our friends, Casey, has a boat, but he had his high and dry up at a marina where it was tied down on the ground, on the hard.
Yeah.
And I guess, this storm moved pretty quickly, but you have to give a little bit more faith again to NOAA nowadays. When they had that trajectory pretty much hanging towards you, you have a couple of days where you can get that boat trailed out if possible, or at least if you're in a marina, maybe have them hard haul it out and put it up on stands. Do something to try to keep it from washing away. Now, some of these boats, they were in the water. I'm sure they had lines all over them, but I snapped lines before. They're strong, but they're not that strong.
True.
And there are plenty of boats out there.
And we're going to talk about maybe some extra ways that you can, run some lines. Mike the Mariner standing by. He's just a little north of me, and he had his boat. We're going to find out how he fared next on the World of Boating. Maybe you'll pick up a tip or two as a boater yourself. More coming up on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
explorer in the other 2/3 of your world. Be the buddy who takes the kids in the aquarium instead of just to it. Be adventurous. Be amazed. Be a diver.
Traffic sucks, unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 psi left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Hosting a radio show about scuba diving and boating is one of the best gigs on the planet. It's actually part of my job to check out and report on cool new products I personally use to enhance my diving and boating adventures. However, I do believe in sharing the joy, and this is why we've added Nanook protective hard cases to our list of products you can now purchase on the merchandise page at scubaradio.com. Nanook cases are designed to protect the most sensitive equipment in the harshest environments. Underwater photographers, listen up. From their high-impact NK7 resin to their exclusive Power Claw latches, Nanook has raised the bar for those of you that demand the best protection for your gear. Plus, Nanook protective cases cost less than similar products currently on the market. The company has been around for over 15 years, but it's new to the U.S., so we've made a small number of Nanook cases available exclusively for you at a special introductory price on the merchandise page at scubaradio.com. Go there now and check out Nanook, the evolution of protection.
Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the world of boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I'm really excited to check out these beautiful waters with you in a really cool way.
All right.
See that boat over there?
Yeah.
I think we're going to sail on it today.
Oh, my God, yes.
This is the world of boating. Greg, your first mate, Barry the boater, and now Mike the mariner with us on his way from a hurricane hole, maybe, I don't know. How did you fare with Hurricane Helena there, Mike? What can you tell us?
Actually, where we are, we were very fortunate. So most of the rain, which is what I was really primarily concerned about, stayed to the west side of Florida, and the St. Johns River, which is already high, did not need any more water in the basin. So we got light showers.
Yeah,
we did. So keeping our fingers crossed for the rest of the season.
Sure. Now, so what did you do to prepare your vessel? Once again, it's a 35-foot what?
It's a 40-foot. 40-foot. Yeah, 40-foot Silverton.
Silverton, right. So did you do any? Silverton. You saw this one coming. I mean, it kind of came up quick, for us in Florida. We usually have a full week, but this one we didn't really know what it was going to do until about 2 days.
Right.
So,
not true.
What do you mean not true? That was true.
We knew they had a general idea about 5 days ago of where this thing may go. They just sharpened up their pencils as it got closer. So
well, that's what they do. Yeah.
I'll say this: the forecasting seems to have gotten better over the last 3 or 4 years, and this time they pretty much nailed it. It was
they did.
The timing and the tracks were dialed in pretty early back when before it was even a named storm south of Cuba.
Yep.
And, the spaghetti models on this one in particular weren't as wild as what, I mean, they were pretty universal on this one. So I think, yes, let's give them credit where credit is due. They nailed it. But it could be that, from what I saw, especially 5 days ago, Barry, when they were talking about this, is that there was like only one way for this thing to go. I mean, because it went, like you said, it developed off of Cuba and was going into the Gulf, and then it was just, okay, where's it going to come to shore? In the Panhandle, is it going to turn right or left, as it usually does? But all the spaghetti models were pretty much in line. I think I
Yeah.
saw one that might have drifted off a little bit more towards, Central Florida, but all the other models were like almost right on top of each other,
Right.
so
Right.
so they got it,
Yeah,
but
they
maybe
had
the conditions were probably more conducive for them predicting as well, which is good. And
Yeah.
it gives us a shot to, deal with this or figure out what we're going to do. And it sounds like you did the
Yeah.
same thing as me, Mike. I
Yeah.
thought we were going to get a lot more rain than we did. I mean, we
Well,
got the
that's
blows. Yeah.
that's the one thing about this forecast that was a little off is how much rain was on the east side of the storm, or
Yeah.
how tightly wound the storm. I think the storm was more tightly wound than they expected it to be. They thought it was going to be a broader storm, maybe 100 miles wider than it actually ended up being, because the rain forecast where I am was much higher than we actually got.
Yeah.
So there was a lot drier air on the east side of the storm. But
Which
when you
usually
look at-
is that's the dirty side.
it is.
Yeah. And
It
it
is.
didn't really
But-
end up being that, traditional in that
It
sense.
it did.
maybe.
It was lopsided more to the east.
Yeah,
The-
but not as far out.
Yeah.
I mean, as far not as
It
broad
kind
as
of tightened
they thought
up
it
a
was
little
going to
bit
be.
as far as the
Well,
intensity.
they
maybe.
say that as the intensity increases, it tends to tighten up like a ballerina when she tightens up her arms and legs and starts spinning faster.
That is true.
So they
Yeah.
say the wider the storm, the less intense it is, but it also means you have more rain in other areas. This thing,
Right.
it spun up pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yes.
so what did you do for your vessel? Did you do anything special compared to, prepping for other hurricanes or potential of
well,
bad weather like that?
I already have the boat double lined,
Yeah.
and I keep it that way because I go on a business trip or I go somewhere for a week or two,
Yeah.
and I don't know what's going to happen while I'm gone. So all hurricane season, the boat has plenty of lines. All I did was go make sure everything was buttoned up.
Yeah.
I adjusted a couple of those lines and put it more in the center of the slip, but other than that, I didn't have to do much this time.
Now, what happens if you're out of town? Does your marina manager or dock master, does he do anything, or is everybody on their
They
own?
do.
What do they do?
No, they do. We have a really great marina, and it's a combination of there's a lot of people that live on their boats in our marina, plus the staff there, which is fantastic. And yes, they walk around, they hit every dock, and they check every boat. And if there's a boat that needs to be adjusted, they will call the owner. If the owner can't make it, then either a combination of someone that's on the dock or the staff will make sure that measures are taken to protect the vessel.
Gotcha. Well, not just that vessel, but everybody around them, I guess. So they're being
Yes.
proactive in that regard. Yeah.
Mhm.
So other
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
more, you didn't get the rain. You got some blows because we had them here in Orlando. You're not that far away from me. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, we were getting gusts in the 50s or so here and there a little bit. Not too bad, but no issues at all at your marina that you're aware of. Everybody was well prepared.
Right. Our marina didn't sustain damage this time, which is great because if you remember Hurricane Ian, 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago, caused all that massive flooding.
Right.
We're still damaged from that hurricane, and that kind of makes me think about what happened in Pinellas County and all up the West Coast. That storm hit 200 miles away from Pinellas County, but the entire shoreline, the eastern shoreline of Pinellas County, from St. Pete all the way up to Dunedin, is devastated.
Yeah.
Virtually every marina there, lots of boats were damaged, and that storm hit 200 miles away from there. So that just gives you an idea of the broad effects of a storm that's so far away, what it can have closer to home. So
Right.
you
Well, and
really
that
have to
was
pay
just the
attention to where they're
rain
going.
and the storm surge. I mean, that's what got them. It wasn't even probably initial pass of the hurricane itself. It was,
No, they had right. They just had tropical storm force winds, but they had sustained winds out of the south that pushed all that seawater up into Tampa Bay, all the way up into the city of Tampa, all the way up into all the coastal communities up along that shoreline. Neighborhoods were flooded, marinas were damaged, boats floated up onto shore. There's going to be the effects, recovery effects for quite an extended period of
All
time.
right, so here's the question for you, Mike. If you saw one of these storms were coming our way and we were going to take a direct hit, would you do anything differently as far as tying up your vessel? Or you pretty much got it as roped out as you possibly can?
There might be one or two lines I could add to maybe a piling somewhere, but you know, here's the thing: you can only do so much.
Right.
And you know, if you have a vessel and you're in a marina and you're blessed with the opportunity to haul your boat out and put it on the hard, and then tie it down and secure it on the hard, that's a great thing. I don't have that option. There's just no room.
Right.
There's three marinas within 10 miles that have travel lifts large enough to haul my boat, but no space.
Well, there you go. Well, Mike the Mariner's good for now, and he's got his plan. It seems like it's working for him. We got more coming up on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
Traffic sucks unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 psi left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Do you have a message or product you need to share with the boating world? Well, look no further than the World of Boating radio show. Just like you, thousands of boating enthusiasts are hearing this message, and we could be talking about you and your product or service as early as next Saturday. Remember, a terrible thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Go to worldofboating.com, send us an email, and let's get to work to make your marketing message matter.
Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I used to have a boat.
You did?
Yeah, she was pretty damn sweet, man. I love that boat.
So why'd you lose it?
Sometimes the things we love aren't long for this world, Vern. Especially when your alcoholic ex-wife gets drunk and falls overboard and drowns.
This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. That's me, along with Barry the Boater. Mike the Mariner has jetted off to, just have fun because he's been working too much this week protecting his 40-foot Silverton, which it appears he did a pretty good job. I mean, I don't think he could have done much better than what he did, the way he described it. What do you say, Barry? You agree?
No, I don't think he could do any more than he did right now. And if it looked like it was going to be a direct hit, I don't know if there's enough you could do because you have all those other boats. Yeah.
Exactly what I thought. I mean, best case scenario, try to get it out of the water up on the hard, but, he doesn't have that luxury. I mean, it's a 40-foot vessel. So first off, it's one of those boats. It's kind of hard to get in and out of the water in the first place.
Well,
and
I see them down here.
Well, yeah, but depending on how you're set up with your boat, when you get into the boats that big, you pretty much got to keep them in the water or find a hurricane hole as they do in the Caribbean. When these things go, like, the liveaboard boats that I go on for diving around the world, when storms come in the area, they have these little hurricane holes. They go take the vessels over there and they tie them up to every, twig and mangrove swamp area they can find. Yeah. It's pretty amazing what how creative you can get when you have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nature does that. You get in those areas where there's a lot of mangroves and realize those mangroves have stood the test of time. Yeah, survived hurricanes quite well. Mm-hmm. And we have those down here in Fort Lauderdale. Those areas, little canals, there's areas back where the New River is and where the Dania Cutoff Canal is, where people will take their boats and tie them all off along those areas because down here, if you're going to get storm surge, it's going to be along the beaches there. it may come in. But then you have the intracoastal. So you think about it. We have the skinny barrier island of Miami Beach, and then you have up in Broward County, Hallandale Beach and Hollywood Beach and all that. That'll slow down some of the wave action, but the water itself is going to come in. And it will pretty much stop at US 1 in that area. That's considered a high area if you were to look at the topography of South Florida.
So
that
east of US 1, you're asking
east
for
of US, east of US 1, you're definitely going to have a problem. I know that Allie is supposed to evacuate, and we already have it set up that she would come over here with her cats and go into this nice, lovely little area here.
Yeah.
And that's where they would
some
hang out.
would consider a prison, but no, it's
not a prison.
It's his daughter.
It's nice
so.
in here. Yeah. Take care of her.
Yes, of course you do. All
I
right.
mean, but she also works at the hospital, and she is also on hurricane staff there. So what would probably happen is the cats would come here, and she would go to the hospital and be there for the next 48 to 72 hours.
Okay. Well, you'll be in charge of keeping the cats dry.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All
I
right.
mean,
Well,
the house,
so yeah. So this is the world of boating. So how does the storm affect the boaters? We've been covering that. We're going to actually talk about what to look for after this really clears out and what it means for the boating industry as a whole, especially if you're looking for a used boat. You can imagine where we're going to go there. But before we do that, let's talk about the specific impacts that this has had on business, especially from a boating perspective when it comes to cruise ships. Now, there's a big port in Tampa that totally got shut down. And if you are a cruiser / kind of, passenger on a boater, as I always like to say, you were crap out of luck because they canceled a few of the sailings out of the Tampa.
Would you have wanted to be on a ship when they had those seas out there?
I have.
Yeah.
I've been on a cruise ship many times. And usually what they can do is they'll just change the itinerary and mix it up because of the weather.
Right.
I've been on this many times in the past where this has happened. Actually, the most recent was last year. And we were supposed to go over to the Bahamas and I think Roatan in the Caribbean, and a storm came in right before our cruise. And they ended up, we thought for a minute there, we thought, oh, they're going to cancel this thing outright. But no, they went out of Miami. They hugged the coast and took us down to Cozumel instead and kind of skirted outside of the storm and went to different ports. And, we had a great time. It wasn't the itinerary we expected to get, but, that's usually what they do. They just will divert. Now, unfortunately, the Helena came too close to Florida, especially around the Tampa area, and shut down the port for like 2 or 3 days. And I don't even know if it's operating today. I assume it is.
Well, that's the reason why they shut down all the cruises, because you didn't know how much damage you would have at the port. And it's not like, oh, we're going to go for a 3-day sail, and then you're stuck out there for 7 days because they won't let you back into the port because maybe it's damaged and you can't get the ships in,
right?
Or you can't tie them down, or
they can't get them on, can't get them off.
Gangways, yeah,
Exactly.
You're going to be zip lining from the ship back to ground, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That would be the final ride of the day.
Yeah. So they canceled, some of those. I mean, Tampa's not a huge cruise port compared to, say, Port Canaveral and Miami when it comes to that kind of stuff. But the Carnival has a few, and I think Royal Caribbean maybe too. I don't know. But yeah, that's a problematic thing. And you can the people that have these cruises booked. I mean, God bless them. Sometimes this is like your big trip of the year. You've saved for, God knows how long to do this trip. It could be a bucket list trip kind of thing. The only thing I would tell you is make sure you have travel insurance. That's the only way you're going to be saved in a situation like this, because the cruise lines are getting more and more tricky on reimbursing stuff, especially when it comes to weather.
Yeah.
So
it's
don't think if you've booked a cruise and a hurricane comes in that you're going to get a credit for a future cruise. They may do that, and they try to do that, but I'm telling you, they have gotten worse in that regard. And expect
it's not worse. It's hurricane season. If you're going to
no, the cruise lines have gotten worse at reimbursing people that have booked these trips, and then a storm comes in.
Well, the
that's why
question becomes
you have to get your travel insurance.
insurance, right? But I mean, that's something that you got to look at from their point of view. Is they're also not earning? Well, they're not going anywhere. So do they give the money back because they didn't have to,
right?
Expense the fuel expense, but their employees are still on the ship.
But I'll
They have
tell
to
you,
be
5-10 years
So-
ago, Barry, that used to be the case. You didn't
Well-
usually have to worry about it because the cruise lines were pretty good about, like, hey, you'll just get a future cruise credit, and they still do that to a certain extent. Trust me.
Yeah.
But the travel insurance has gotten so paramount now. If you book a trip like that, don't even.
How much is travel insurance?
Well, it can be anywhere, say for a week-long cruise, it'll cost you, say, like, $3 to $5 grand for a couple or something. Or
Wait,
$2
for
to
insurance?
$5.
Or wait,
The insurance is going to be anywhere from $200 to $400, $500 maybe, depending on the level of coverage you want to get and how you want to be reimbursed and all that kind of stuff.
So it's a percentage of if you pay $5 grand for the
And
trip,
generally,
it's
some
going to be
of them do a flat fee, like, depending on how much the cruise is worth. I mean, there's a bunch of variables, but I'd say for a week cruise in the, $3 to $5 grand range, you're going to figure you're going to pay anywhere from $200 to $500 in insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
and
it's just peace of mind. Yeah. Medical, that covers some medical, like something happens to you, you can't do the cruise. But of course, if weather comes into play, it'll kind of ensure that you'll at least get a credit back for a future cruise date and that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and if you're going to cruise in the wintertime, we're not going to have hurricanes. We may have bad weather from, cold fronts coming down.
Right.
But I could see that more in the summertime, especially if you want to go cruising, around September, which is, again.
Yeah, or right now. I mean,
peak of the
it
season.
wasn't weather that affected the largest cruise ship in the world. It was something else. We'll talk about that next on The World of Boating.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network. You have successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Oh, look at this. So much fun, you'll ship your pants.
You'll ship your pants, bro!
Be singing and dancing, singing and dancing, singing and dancing, singing and dancing. When that great, great ship comes in.
This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate, Barry the Boater, rounding out the crew as we navigate the latest boating news and information. All right, just kind of recap and button up that last discussion on travel insurance. If you're a cruiser,
right?
Just get it. And I'll tell you, Hurricane Helena affected the port of Tampa, where they have some cruises that go out of there. I think on Carnival, go to Cozumel. They're actually pretty cheap, and this is one of the best times of year, believe it or not, to go on a cruise, because the conditions, if there's not a hurricane, it can be
beautiful out.
spectacular.
Oh yeah,
in between the storms, the wind has died down, and it's really a good time to do it. But of course, you're rolling the dice a little bit with hurricane season. So you get your travel insurance, you're good to go. Or, as some people you might look at if you wanted to go out of Tampa. Sometimes they got really cheap deals out of there. You can go on a 4-night cruise for like $300 or $500 a person. It's pretty daggone cheap. So you can roll the dice and just not get the insurance and just know that, hey, if a hurricane comes and they cancel the trip, you may or may not get credit for it. And, roll your dice that way. But that's, an individual decision.
Right.
You got to make, but because you can do these things really, really cheap if you want.
Well, if it's a percentage of the ticket and the ticket's $500 and, if $50 for the insurance, you get the insurance. What the hell?
Well, once again, it depends. I mean,
Right.
That's what I was saying. Like typically on a week-long cruise, Barry, you might spend, you can get some deals that are like, $5.99 a person. That's pretty crazy. $100 a day thereabouts on a cruise and everything's covered for you. But then if you want to do the insurance, and the insurance is another $200 or $300, and you're like, well, okay, wait a minute. The odds are with me that I'm not going to get canceled. Do I want to,
Since
go on
we
the
want to get
cheap?
past this, then the one other question I would have is, how soon do you have to buy the insurance? Can you wait till, is there like 48 hours before your cruise you could still buy the insurance, or no?
No,
Or
not
do you-
generally. And you can't
so
buy
if you
any
buy your
insurance
ticket months in advance, then you have no way of doing it. But if you if you look a week in advance of the cruise, can you buy cruise tickets up to a week or so before it ships
sure.
out?
You can do a last minute hop on kind of thing, but
that might be
generally
the best
those
thing.
are not good deals, believe it or not. Now a lot of people
Really?
think, oh, if you wait till it'll be one of the last it's kind of tricky to get those last
right.
minute super deals. You kind of almost have to know someone or be on a special list.
So
if
wasn't
you're-
there a
But
a
I
sup-
mean,
a
it's
s-
doable, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
I don't mess with that. But
So will the insurance take care of things like a supersized ship that just says we have to go in for maintenance?
well,
Something's
in
wrong?
this case, okay. So the Icon of the Seas, largest cruise ship in the world, just started sailing 3 months ago or something. Just a few months.
Yeah, it just
And it's already going in for maintenance, or going in for an issue that supposedly it has an issue with the propulsion system on a brand new cruise ship that also happens to be the largest one in the world. Now, I will tell you, it is an impressive piece of machinery. If you go look at a video of the Icon of the Seas, I don't
It's just-
care if you like cruise ships or not. It's remarkable, the technology and the crazy stuff they have on this cruise ship and how massive it is. It's basically a floating Vegas resort.
Oh, it's I
with
looked
different
at,
lands and everything on it.
Yeah.
It's insane what it has.
and if you look at just all the water features towards the rear of it, it's got I don't know how many water slides, and it has the flow rider and all these other water attractions and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like about it is the front of it, or near the bow. There is this big glass enclosed area. It just looks like a big butt.
Well, okay. The reason they put that on is the ships before this one that are in similar size classes.
Yeah.
They had that all open air, and
Uh-huh.
they have this huge dive show for Royal Caribbean where they do high dives and Cirque du Soleil kind of stuff. But it's open air, and the problem they were having was when they're cruising with wind and weather, the show couldn't go all the time. So they've decided to enclose that theater. And that's why you see that big bubble that you're talking about.
Okay.
So you may
'Cause I
not
get-
like how it looks aesthetically, but on the inside, I'll tell you, it's amazing. I've
Okay.
seen all the videos and layouts. I mean, I'm kind of into that kind of stuff as far as like if you're going to go on a cruise ship, it might as well be the largest or most elaborate and craziest.
7,600 people on that ship.
Well,
I
yeah, but
believe.
it's massive. It is so.
It's a lot of
huge.
toilet flushing. I cannot believe.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that they can do it is,
Yeah.
feat in itself. But they're not doing it perfectly because it's already going in for maintenance. So the upside is if you happen to book the week that they just canceled, which I think is the upcoming week or something, I don't remember. But
Yeah, but they said that they were giving everyone a full refund.
yeah, exactly. As they would have to. I mean, you wouldn't need insurance for that. I mean, if you book that week and Royal Caribbean does it, of course they're gonna take care of their people. This is totally on them. Something happened when they developed their propulsion system. The engine. I guess what was happening is that they had some itinerary set up, and they realized they couldn't operate the vessel at the speed they had planned to, and had to cancel or change itineraries because they couldn't get to each port in time.
I believe they spec'd out their engines from Alibaba.
You think that's what it was? I
yeah,
don't know.
Either
I
that or
doubt it.
Timo. Maybe they got it from Temu, and 50 cents an engine.
Well, somebody
for
is
first-time buyers.
heads are going to roll, or somebody is getting
absolutely.
yelled at big time. I mean,
Someone
initially
didn't change the oil.
Well, initially, people were demanding refunds because, like, say they were going on an itinerary for the Icon of the Seas, and they're supposed to go to some island in the Caribbean, and it was this port, and this port. But when they realized they couldn't run the boat as fast as they thought they were going to be able to, they had to change the itinerary to accommodate the lack in speed that the vessel could run. So people complain, like, "Hey, I booked this trip to go to Cozumel or Roatan or someplace that it was
We're
supposed
going
to
to
go."
Bimini and Key West.
Right,
instead.
and now we're
Yeah.
not doing that, and and so they had to do this balancing act of like, okay, well, we'll give you a little credit for this because it's not, your fault, and yeah, we dropped the ball and stuff. But that's totally on Royal Caribbean. When you sign your, when you buy a ticket on these cruise lines, trust me, they have all the power. So it's totally at their discretion of what they will do for you. They can change the itinerary. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to give you squat. They really don't have to. But
they
of course,
they could have handed out oars, and everyone on each side of the ship just paddle a little.
Well, they could, but I think
Yeah.
that'd be bad for business too. So
Yeah, but think of how strong you would become, and you wouldn't gain 5 pounds from eating all that food.
right, we're gonna have free rowing classes this week.
There you
on
go.
the
Yeah,
Iconic-
you got to sell it. Why pay for aerobics when we can help you with it for free?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, you might have.
You
some
learn how
there,
to
Barry.
keep. Yeah.
Yeah. But
so what are we gonna do with all these boats that are like crashed up on the shores here over in the
Well,
west?
I would say just you're fine for about 6 months, but after 6 months, they're going to start popping up into the market, and you're going to have to know your boat surveyor well to make sure they
Yes.
know what water damage looks like.
Right.
And that happens every season. And these boats, some of them will look great. They'll fix them up, look really nice. And if you don't know what to look for, like that water line in the bilge, they didn't scrub off all the way. And we're like, wait a minute, was the water up to this line on this boat at one time?
Right. But you're going to also want to look at, electrical. There's a lot of things you want to check out. We can discuss it next week because it's going to be important to check out certain systems in these boats.
That's right. Get your
you don't want-
surveyor. Boat surveyor is a must.
Absolutely.
If you're looking
for
at
these,
getting a used vessel. And this probably will mean we'll get a few more to flood the market, and it's already been pretty active. So it'll be
No
interesting
pun
to see.
intended, right?
Yes, exactly.
Flood the market.
It was totally intended.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, that will do it for this week of The Big Show. Till next time, remember, whether it is sail or motor,
life is better as a boater.
Safe boating, everyone.
Barnacle-bitten swab. World of Boating is brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
World of Boating is a production of Overboard Entertainment Incorporated.
Computer standing by.
Remember, you can listen live or to archives of past shows worldwide over the internet at worldofboating.com.
Computers can do that?
So tell a friend and come aboard every week for the World of Boating.
This is so great. I can't wait. I'm getting goosebumps. Feel me. Feel me.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The opinions you just heard on the World of Boating are those of the hosts, callers, and guests. They are not necessarily those of any station or network, its management, or advertisers.
What are you being such a weenie for?
While on the water, your safety and the safety of many others depends on you. So boat smart and operate your vessel only after receiving the proper training and instruction for your area.
There is a fine line between genius and madness.
Have any questions or comments? Feel free to do so via the web at worldofboating.com.